The Clippers have been in the shadow for the Lakers for pretty much their whole time in LA. In this offseason, they definitely made some big moves to show that they could win the NBA title next year. So I'm going to go over the rise of the Los Angeles Clippers. First off, let me tell you about their past times in the league. In 1970, the Buffalo Braves were a new team in the NBA. They would last 8 seasons in Buffalo before relocating to San Diego and changing their team name to the Clippers. They lasted 6 years in San Diego before heading up north to LA to get more exposure. The team struggled a lot when they first moved to Los Angeles, and after 10 straight losing seasons, the Clippers finally made the playoffs just to lose to the Jazz in 5 games. In 1998, the Clippers draft Michael Olowokandi, aka the Candyman, at the first overall pick. He would be mentored by Hall of Fame center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This gives the team hope, but he just ends up being a flat-out bust. The team finally makes the playoffs again in 2006, with Sam Cassell and Chris Kaman leading the way. They end up beating the Nuggets in 5 games, and they lose in the next round to the Phoenix Suns in 7. This gives NBA owner Donald Sterling his first playoff series win as an owner. 3 years later, the Clippers draft Blake Griffin first overall. They later get Chris Paul from the New Orleans Hornets in a blockbuster trade, and this is where Lob City is born. So before we talk about the rise of this franchise, we first must talk about their downfall a couple years ago. The Clippers had their big 3 with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan. So whatever happened to them? After making the playoffs but losing the first and second rounds every year for 6 years, they decided it was time to move on. First off, Chris Paul was traded to the Houston Rockets to team up with NBA superstar James Harden. In return, they got back Lou Williams, Patrick Beverley, and Montrezl Harrell, who are all key players for their team today. Then about 6 months later, in January, Blake Griffin is traded to the Detroit Pistons for Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, and Boban Marjanovic. At this point, it's kind of obvious that the Clippers are in rebuild mode, as they acquire many draft picks and trade away their best players. At the end of that year, they fall short of making the playoffs and finish as the 10th seed in Western Conference. In the 2018 NBA Draft, they acquire Shai Gilgeous-Alexander via trade from the Charlotte Hornets. The next season, the Clippers have no expectations to do well. This is when Tobias Harris really emerges from a role player to an all-star caliber player. Nearing the trade deadline, the Clippers trade Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, and Mike Scott to Philadelphia for Mike Muscala, Landry Shamet, and a bunch of picks. At this point, NBA fans were questioning what the Clippers were doing. They were getting a player who could make the all-star team in the future, who was really breaking out. All this just to trade him away? Looking back on what the Clippers did, it was a bad move at the time, but looking back, it really paid off. It looked like they wanted to clear up some cap with that trade. The Clippers weren't trying to become a decent team in the near future, but a great team for a while. Even with getting rid of their best player, they still managed to get the 8th seed in the playoffs. They faced the Warriors in the first round, but really put up a good fight. In Game 2, they managed to come back after being down 31 points and win another game in Oregon before losing back home. Even though they lost in 6 games, they still put up a really good fight considering the team that they had. Over the course of the season, Patrick Beverley really steps it up, Gallinari plays really well, Montrezl Harrell breaks out this year, and even Lou Williams wins the 6th Man of the Year that year. The team has proven to have a solid bench and great players who all play their role extremely well. So enter free agency. The Clippers have room for 2 max free agents if they get rid of Gallinari. The biggest targets are of course Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Jimmy Butler. After a couple days have gone by in free agency, Kevin Durant pairs up with Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. Jimmy Butler is a part of a sign-and-trade deal with the Heat, and the only superstar left is Kawhi Leonard. We all know he had 3 destinations in mind: the Clippers, Lakers, and the Raptors. And if you're watching this video, chances are you already know where he signed. Yes, he signed a 4-year max contract with the Clippers. And a couple minutes later, the Thunder trade Paul George to the Clippers in exchange for Gallinari, Shai, and 5 unprotected first-round picks. So by far, this is the quickest rebuild by any NBA team, if you even want to call it that. Jerry West knew what he was doing all along, and he brought the Clippers an MVP candidate and the reigning Finals MVP all in 1 year. The Clippers were the biggest laughingstock in basketball for a while. Now they're on top of the league. The Clippers are now favorites to win the 2020 NBA Finals, and this is how they got here. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like this video and share it with friends. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.